Golf, Bravo, Charlie, Yankee Romeo. I'm a passenger. My pilot seems to be unconscious. I'm just inside the stand of my home base, but I'm not the pilot. Over.
Raise your hand if any one of you have been in the situation. Expect it. If I was in that situation, I would have beep in my pants. But not for John Whitley. He was a brave heart. He was a 77-year-old man who was flying back home somewhere in northern England. He was flying back with his 81-year-old friend who was the pilot. John had no experience whatsoever about flying, but he knew a little about flying terminology. On his way back, the pilot started feeling sick, but decided to continue his journey instead of taking rest for a while. After some time, the pilot asked John to take control. The pilot put his head back, started breathing heavily, started sweating, and passed out. John thought that his pilot had fainted, but he had died at this very moment. Now John had to take control of the plane and learn to fly as soon as possible. It takes a minimum of 10 hours of flying under the supervision of an instructor to be allowed to fly solo. But now John had to learn to fly within a couple of minutes. He was flying in a Cessna, which is a small plane generally used for training pilots. The sun was setting and he was asked to divert to Humberside, which is the closest international airport, which had all the resources to handle the situation John was in. As it was getting dark, the Humberside airport was still 20 minutes away. He was in contact with the air traffic control as they directed him towards the airport. They told him that they had arranged for an army search and rescue helicopter that he had to follow as they lined him up towards the runway. They also told him that they had called for a flight instructor to help him get the plane on the ground, and more importantly, get it down safely. The flight instructor asked him what were the difficulties he had in flying, and it turned out that he was able to use only one out of the two methods used to turn the plane. Now, I want you to realize that a 77-year-old man flying in complete darkness had to fly and land the plane successfully. As it turned dark, he had more difficulties. He was not able to read any of his meters and he did not know where the light switches were. And second was that he was scared that he would collide into some other plane in this darkness. There are two runways at the Humberside airport. First is the big runway with lights used for jets, and the second is a smaller one without lights used for smaller planes. He was made to align with the smaller one because of the weather conditions that would make it easier for him to land. As he was approaching the runway, he realized he could not land over there. It was too dark and he couldn't even see the runway. He decided to go around. For his second attempt, he came back, but this time to the bigger, lighted up runway. But again he missed his landing and went around. He had his third attempt, which also failed. Now, I want you all to realize that there is a 77-year-old man flying a plane for the first time in complete darkness for over 2 hours and 3 failed attempts of landing. For his fourth attempt, when he came and was just about to land, he looked down and bam, bam, bam. He hit the runway and the airplane rolled off the runway. That was the only mistake he did that could have got him killed. In the end, he landed successfully and he survived. But he had said one thing in his interview, that he had made up his mind that no matter what happens, he had to stay calm and composed. He had to get the plane on the ground and live for longer. Now, I want to ask you all a question. If you were in that situation, would you ever sit in a plane again? Yes? No? Yes? Okay, but there was something different about John. Exactly 1 week after this incident, John took his first flying classes. This story is something very special to me. Even though that I am from a management background, I have a special passion towards aviation. John has inspired me and persuaded me to take up flying lessons, and very soon I am going to take my first flying lessons and hit the skies and cancel one thing out of my bucket list. I feel that there are 3 things that we can learn from John's story. First is that no matter what happens, you have to stay calm and composed. Second is that no matter how many times you fail, there is always some hope, some light for success. And third is that there is no age for learning. I want all of you to go back, learn what you're interested in, learn what passion you have, learn whatever you're passionate in, and complete that. Show the courage to learn what you're scared, because in the end of the day, you will remember it till the end of your life, and others will remember you for your courage. Over to the MC.